I thought you'd like to see some real bison, buffalo, American buffalo. Got a few new ones out there, little calves. Well, you can see all that. And some elk. It's springtime, so you know, their coats are starting to shed, and of course the antlers are small at this point. Here's one coming right towards us. And spending some time out by the river here. A couple more seconds here of the river. I imagine this would be a fairly good fishing spot right in here. If anybody's into that. And I thought I'd take just a second here and address some comments that I get from people that I shouldn't mix politics and religion. Well, if you're a Christian and you're telling me that, we have a problem, because your scriptures say that God will make us priests and kings to the Most High God, right? Well, what do kings talk about? Politics, government. What do priests talk about? Spiritual things, religion, if you will. Just thought I'd make that point. You know, it almost seems to be a travesty to bring up things like Jade Helm right now, you know, in a place like this. The powers that be and the UN with its Agenda 21 basically pretends that it wants to save all of this from destructive mankind. But you know, mankind throughout history has lived side by side with nature, indeed been a necessary part of it. And mankind still is. What isn't is the waste of the Industrial Revolution, which was all about greed and money. Yes, it's had its advantages, but we can have that technology, we can have that convenience, all of those nice things without destroying the earth. We know how to do it. Energy, for instance. We don't need gas, we don't need oil. We can actually take energy right out of the environment, right out of the air. And I'm sure a lot of you know about that, and I'm not here to talk about that. But we can save all this. We can take care of all this and still be blessed with many, many brothers and sisters. Indeed, that's what all this was for. And there's enough and to spare here if people are more concerned about the welfare of others than themselves. But, you know, yeah, okay, the real world. What's the real world? Greed, envy, hate, get ahead of your neighbor, kill him if you have to get what he has or to keep him from getting what you want. That's what all this in Iran and Syria and all of that is about. And most of you, I think, know that the U.S. and its allies are the ones that are promulgating these wars around the world under the pretense of liberty, when in fact they're not. Liberation and democracy, when they're not. But I want to go a little bit more into Jade Helm just for a minute on this video, because, you know, I've reviewed Mr. Meads. He's the PR guy for SOCOM, giving his briefings, and it disgusts me. His mere briefings are really an education in a psychological operation. He's using all the right words. He's pretending to be a friend. All we have to do is read Special Forces manuals, read psychological operations, unconventional warfare operations manuals, and they're online. You can get them. I've sent some to friends. You know, I'd put it here, but there are people that are already out that have done that. I'm just going to talk from my own experience, okay? Look up the manuals, verify what I'm telling you. But the fact of the matter is, the powers that be that are using the UN and its Agenda 21, the banking system, all of that, to really eradicate mankind. That's really what the end game is on this thing, except for very few what they call elites who are really nothing more than psychopaths, maybe sociopaths, maybe a good smattering of both. But I told a little bit a while ago why Jade Helm couldn't be something from China. Because China doesn't control DOD, it doesn't control SOCOM, it doesn't control, our federal government. That 10 square miles in DC. It's not really our government, it's a foreign government that's taken over. And the states, I hope, will use their nullification, constitutional nullification abilities to turn this around. They need to do that. Some states are, at least on some federal so-called laws, but they need to do it on much more. But regardless of that, what I'm getting at here is that SOCOM and NORTHCOM have hand-picked people in them that are not your friendly boy down the street or girl, and you know how I feel about girls in the military, but regardless of that, down the street neighbors who just joined the military. That's not what these people are. There are very few of them there. Most of them have been handpicked for their willingness to do whatever their superiors tell them to do, be it unconstitutional or not. They're going to have a piece of the pie. They're, Call of Duty, they're going to go out there and do this. And yeah, they're well trained, but I don't think one of them has read the Constitution, and I don't really think most of them care. What I'm getting at here is that these military organizations do not even answer to probably anyone in DOD. They answer to people like the CFR, Trilateral Commission, Rockefeller, Rothschild. Only insofar as other agencies of the government sustain I understand the word isn't New World Order anymore, it's New International Order, then those people in the so-called government get some type of obeisance from SOCOM, NORTHCOM, DOD, etc. Where am I going with this? Where I'm going is here. There are people in the world since time immemorial that wanted to build a tower to where God lives and take over. Kill God, take his place. You can read about it in Isaiah if you're into that. I was going to quote some of that, but I think I'll just talk today. There are actual people. I think they're people. Maybe they're not related to the rest of us. And I've talked about that before too. But their purpose is to go where God is and take his place. Hey, I'll take care of everybody, but let me have your seat, your throne. You can go away somewhere else. Nimrod built the Tower of Babel to try to reach God. There was something out there that he saw. And to kill him and to take his place. And now we have things like CERN that are toying with interdimensional studies, attempts at interdimensional travel, exploration. You have chemtrailing that apparently isn't just to poison us, but to block certain cosmic influences that come out from the great universe that are actually good for us. And then you have these elites who want to kill everybody else and obtain transhumanism, merge with the machine, and not follow God's plan of immortality, but to create their own, so that they can go and replace God, kill God. And Ray Kurzweil says he doesn't believe in God, that he's going to become God. Well, he knows as well as I do what eternity is and how time works. So he thinks he is God right now. He just hasn't arrived yet. Sort of. My point is, they will stop at nothing. They'll destroy all of this. They'll destroy all of you, rather than give up the power they have. And that's what this Jade Helm is about. You've heard me talk about the takeover of lands in the United States using Agenda 21. We saw that at Bundy Ranch. We see how the courts and the lawyers for the governments and the NGOs have twisted the laws and fooled the states into giving up their land. They didn't really give it up. And I want to make this point about Nevada. as an example. The Nevada Territory said that the federal government could have the land. Once it becomes a state, once Nevada became a state, that territorial agreement's null and void. It's gone. And we can argue about that from now until doomsday, but that same argument has been used by the federal government in other cases. At any rate, my point is this. We either stand up and say no, that they will abide by equal footing doctrine, equal protection under the law, all of the points in the Constitution that talk about guaranteeing a republican form of government, sovereign statehood, all of that, and not depend upon these corrupt courts, especially the federal courts. They're too far gone. Case law, all they need to do is get one precedent that goes against the Constitution, then everybody starts citing that instead of the Constitution. And I've studied law a little bit. I know all about precedent law and case law and, interpretations and all that stuff, all that nonsense. We need to go back to simplicity, as Madison said. Marbury versus Madison. If it goes against the Constitution, it's null and void. It has no force immediately. And most of our laws are at that point. Yes, I know about the 1879 takeover of the Corporation of the United States of America in D.C. I know all that. But that's still, under the supreme law of the land and Constitution, it's null and void. It doesn't matter. So we really need to go back to that. So back to Jade Helm finally, in this last little segment here. There are people that will destroy everything. They want your land under Agenda 21, especially in the Southwest, like we talked about at Bundy Ranch. But more than that, they want control over you. These people these days, again, if we can call them people, want to traffic in the souls of men, in the souls of mankind. We can't allow that, ladies and gentlemen. We have to stand up and say no. To have the military training, especially SOCOM, which if you look at how special forces work, they go in earlier and soften the locals up to accepting U.S. policy. Do you understand that? You see this Mr. Meade doing that when he gives his presentations to these city councils, sheriffs, police departments, whatever. That's what he's doing. He is conducting unconventional warfare on the American people by his mere presentations. And it's going to get worse than that. They come in here, get things ready, and then at the time chosen, they'll implement the operation. I want you to understand that. I'm not going to make it any more complicated than that. Will they grab people this July or even now or later? I don't know when they'll go operational. They're testing the waters right now, and their own manuals tell them how to do that, and that's what they're doing. My point is, we need to stand up and say no. They can go train on their bases, on their posts. Oh, well, that's not realistic. Okay, well, let's provide a realistic place for them away from the population that they can't conduct their psychological operations upon, or anything else. So I guess that's enough today. Again, I just want you to be aware that there are entities, people, right now, who are seeking to approach God and take His place. That's what they're really trying to do. The mere fact that they know Satan exists and serve him, or an entity like that, I use that for lack of a better term, proves that the other exists in their minds as well. They are in open rebellion against the Most High, against the King of the universe. Will they succeed? No. But I want you to be able to survive intact in your body and soul together, body and spirit together, a living soul, a breathing soul, with your families and loved ones through this crisis. Prepare and get ready. These people are not going to give up. In the meantime, enjoy the creation that was placed here for your enjoyment. Peace of mind and imagination. Out here.